Okay, let's build a Mojotone NC3015, which is basically a detuned version of an AC30. Uses an AC30 preamp section with Mojotone's 15-watt output section. All right, let's build a Mojotone NC3015, which is Mojotone's version of an AC30, kind of with a lower power section. Okay, so the box is here. Let's start by unboxing. So if you're watching this, that means I finished this video, and typically I don't finish videos. Okay, these are obviously the panels. Ooh. Mains, top cut, bass, treble, volume, high and low inputs, and a normal channel with a high-low. Chassis looks aluminum. Turret board, black and white wire, some tube clips. Those look to be decent quality, actually. 1/4-inch jack. Okay. Tubes. Now I put these, when I get these, I put them away till later. Power cord, I put that away till later. Okay, there's more. Now Mojotone typically does a pretty good job just making sure like everything's here. Rarely do I see a mistake in any of the diagrams of the packing. Schematic and diagram. I'm not smart enough to do this, so I just use the diagram. I've made their 5E3. I've also made Mojotone's 50-watt bass amp. Okay, so there's two parts kits labeled for the 3015, and there's a nice little diagram here. It's kind of hard to screw this up. You know, wire chicken head knobs, bolts, jacks, a cap, and here's the small parts, caps and resistors and pots. Okay, these are going to be the transformers and the speaker, which I don't have the cabinet yet anyway. I ordered an incredibly custom Vox style cabinet in fawn. I will bust this open just to show. Okay, so this is the Mojotone British Vintage. I thought this was a nice touch that this would be included. I'm going to move that out of the way. That's going to be used way later. And I will bust out the transformers. And what I'm going to do here in this video is I'm going to do chassis and power section first. Okay, that's the output transformer. This is heavier. This is going to be the power transformer. Okay. That's it. That's the parts. I'm going to start building. Okay. So I'm going to start assembling the power section, which is shown on the diagram here. You know, the light, the power, the standby switch, power transformer, And since I'm doing the mechanics, I'll also put the output transformer on the underside here. So this is my third build. I've learned a few things. I want to assemble the power section first, so if I need to test that, I can. Here's a note. Mojotone does not give you enough of these. These little terminal strips really come in handy just to have, you know, shorter runs for grounding wires and things like that. And so what I do is I look at the diagram, and for example, like if there's a ground over here in this section, I just make sure as I assemble the amp that I, you know, because when you're putting this power transformer on, you know, you are bolting right to the chassis, and it's a good opportunity now to get these extra terminal strips sort of located around the chassis. So here's an example. I don't know if this is in focus, but this is the terminal strip that Mojotone gives you. These are not connected. This is one I got off of Amazon, and if you can see it, it's got much bigger like openings. And if you look right here, these are big fat power wires. You want a big fat terminal to connect this to. So these, if you're going to be building, just order a set of these terminal strips in various sizes from Amazon before you start. You won't regret that. Okay, so I'm assembling the power section and like the power components of the chassis here. I want to take a moment and talk about tools. A couple of things I've learned in the few amps I've built. Get a nice set of lock washers. These are really helpful for assembling the chassis in a way that it's never going to come apart. Those are really good. You won't regret having a lot of those around. And these have up to 1/2 inch. The pots are going to need these big 1/2 inch ones. A really good set of needle nose pliers. This is a Klein Tools. I did my first build with a crappy set, and I just cursed the whole time. A nice rat tail file, very fine for just making things fit. This is interesting. I got a shock off a capacitor, the last amp I built, and boy, I'm telling you, it took a few years off my life. This is just a $20 tool off of Amazon. It's for clearing the charge off of capacitors, because you're going to be working in there as you're building and testing. The capacitors are going to have hundreds of volts. It's not a shock you want. Okay, a really good set of regular clippers. I mean, we've all got these, but we've all got crappy ones, right? This is a really good set, and a really good set of fine nippers. Probably can't see that, but you know the type, but that goes down to a real point. This is really good for cleaning up once everything's all soldered. Obviously, a good electrical meter, but also a really good set of leads, because you're going to be safer if you can like attach something and then test remotely. Oh, one more thing. One more crucial item is a really good set of strippers. So this stripper, I don't know if this even autofocuses. It doesn't autofocus. Anyway, this is the kind you just put the wire in and whoosh, this makes really good clean cuts. Okay, back to building the power section. Okay, I think I know what I'm doing. So where we are now, where I am now, is I've got panels on, you know, on either side. And I built the power section first. So I made a little ground bus with a terminal. By the way, here's another tool you're going to need, a chopstick. I haven't built an amp yet that didn't require me to tap around until I found what I did wrong. Nice plastic one too. So anyway, all right, power comes in here. The live side comes to the fuse, right? And then goes out to the switch, the power switch. And then if the switch is on, to the transformer. These two wires here are for the filaments, for the tubes. They'll go along the row here, you know, twisted like they usually are. And then these red, white, and yellow wires, these will go to the rectifier, which is going to be here. The tube for the rectifier is a I don't know, Easy 81. I don't know what that is. British, I guess. Okay. Here's the light, which is just kind of wired in. It's just doubled up. And then these two are not used, so I cut them short, shrink wrapped them, zip tied them, got them out of the way. So on to the next thing. Probably I'll be logical. I'll put the capacitor in and wire up the rectifier circuit, and then I'll do the board kind of separately, because you do the board out of the chassis and then you bring it in. So here's speaker connectors, and I just put on one. You can't see it. Hang on. Yeah, I put on one of the inputs just to hold the red plate in place. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Okay, here's a tip as I'm putting the tube sockets in. Interesting, they're all 9-pin. They're all the same. Note though, on this 3015, you've got 1 through 9, 1 through 9, but here you've got 1 through 9. You could still wire it if they were oriented differently, but just pay attention to that. Then the rectifier tube and the two power tubes have these springy things, and it's kind of crazy to get them on. And the impedance switch, just get it out of the way for now. Just move it to the side. You put it back later once you've mounted it. But it's going to get in the way of a lot of this sort of finer wiring. Okay, I'm going to keep going with the tube sockets. Okie dokie. All right, here we are. Looking good. All right, so all the tube sockets are in. Rectifier tube, power tubes, and the 3 preamp tubes. I've also taken out these speaker jacks, because wiring these little 9-pin jacks is just, it's rough. It's really hard. Some of them have multiple wires going to them. Then there's the filament wire. So I'm going to take the speaker jacks out. I'm going to wire up or put the pots in next, then start wiring the board. And I'm thinking about this impedance switch. I mean, I could see needing it desperately if this was going in a head, but it's going in a combo. It's going just in a combo cabinet with a dedicated speaker that's an 8 ohm. I'm thinking maybe just skip that circuit, but I'm going to decide later. But in any case, getting wiser as I do these, I'm just going to leave all the output. There's the output transformer. I'm going to leave the output section for last, which all goes in this section once I've wired everything behind it. Cool. Really cool. Okay, here's a builder's tip. And by the way, I am building this during the absolute apex, the height of the coronavirus frenzy. So there's no toilet paper at the stores. Anyway, so this is my doomsday activity. This is my favorite thing to do, is to build amps, and I'm going to drink wine and eat a whole frickin' pizza alone. Anyway, just that's background. So now, you don't get these with the Mojotone kit, but I always put these really strong lock washers on both sides of the pots and on the switches. This one's loose because it's not wired yet. You know, you might say, oh, that's super ugly. Why are you doing that? It's ugly. But, you know, it's kind of covered by the chicken head. And you bind this down with a, where's my tool for that? It's this guy here. So you bind this down, and you've got lock washers on the outside and the inside. It's never coming off. Like, it's going to be super reliable forever. That's my tech tip. Okay, progress. All right, let me show you where we're at now. I can give you some tips as I go. So I put all the pots in. Now keep in mind, these the diagram shows these have different values. Like these are 1 megohm, logarithmic, that's a 250. The input jacks are in. And I've started to wire up, I think the angle is bad here, but I started to wire up the preamp tube sockets. Now, the important thing I'm doing now is I'm taking care, and this is important, I'm taking care of what I need to take care of before the board goes in. Once this goes in, anything you forgot underneath is going to be a huge hassle. So, and I haven't made this mistake yet in the 3 amps I've built, but if you notice, like on this diagram, there's this orange wire. They don't give you, or they give you orange, they don't give you blue. There's blue wires, they don't give you blue. But this wire, like this long orange wire here, is this. You could conceivably wire all this stuff on the top, except these input wires you want to run very close to the chassis. Those are okay, those aren't turret wires. These are the input wires. They go to the first tube in the preamp. If you have any noise in these, you're going to hear it when it comes out the speaker, okay? Now, with this diagram, we want to pay very close attention to any wires running underneath the turret. Now, I'm not finished yet, but like for example, this wire here in the preamp section, I've got that. This, whoop, don't have, yes, I do have this long one. There's a few others I don't have yet, but definitely you want to make sure you've got these finished, because once this goes in and you start wiring up tube sockets. Okay, so battery went out as I was talking. Super professional when that happens. I don't know if you caught what I was saying here, but I was talking about the importance of making sure you've got the wires on the back. And sure enough, I don't know if you saw it, but this long wire actually has to connect here as well. So I've made that cut now. I'm going to move on. My point being, I'm going to absolutely make sure all of these back wires, anything I cannot complete when this is placed in, gets done first. Okay.